Welcome back to English Unfiltered, the podcast where we explore real conversations in English.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. And today we're diving into a strange, deeply frustrating emotional experience that almost everyone goes through when speaking a second language, but surprisingly, nobody really talks about.
Right. We are looking at what happens when you feel like a completely different person or, a much smaller version of yourself when you communicate in English.
Yeah, the shrinking personality, it's so common.
It really is, because when people talk about learning English, or, any language really, the conversation is entirely dominated by the mechanics.
Oh, totally. The rules.
Exactly. You obsess over grammar rules. You download apps to memorize endless vocabulary lists.
Right, flashcards.
Yeah, the flashcards. You do shadowing exercises for your pronunciation. You take tests to track your fluency. But there is a massive blind spot here.
A huge one.
We completely ignore the emotional toll of communicating in another language. There is this unseen, heavy psychological weight that actually alters who you are in a conversation.
And the symptoms of this are fascinating to observe, though obviously they are absolutely miserable if you are the one living through it.
Oh, for sure. It's awful.
What usually happens is a learner starts speaking English, and their entire personality just sort of shrinks.
Yeah, it just disappears.
Right. Like, you could be the most charismatic, outgoing person in your native language. You could be the life of the party.
The person who tells those incredible stories at dinner, right?
Exactly. Someone who completely commands a room. But the moment you switch to English, your volume drops.
You physically sound quieter.
You do. And your facial expressions flatten out. You start taking fewer risks in the conversation.
You stop initiating topics and just start, nodding and smiling a lot.
Yes, the constant nodding. You essentially sound less like you.
And people describe this in incredibly emotional terms, too. They don't just say, I made a grammar mistake.
No, they say things like, I feel less intelligent in English.
Or, I feel like I have no sense of humor anymore.
Right. The overarching feeling is this really isolating realization of, I am not myself right now, and I don't know how to show these people who I really am.
It is a very vulnerable place to be. And there's this wild paradox embedded in this, especially for advanced learners.
Oh, the paradox is the most frustrating part.
It really is, because you can have an incredibly high level of comprehension. Like, you might watch complex movies or stand-up comedy without subtitles.
And you catch every nuance, every joke.
Exactly. You read dense novels in English. You write these articulate, persuasive emails at work.
You possess a massive, highly sophisticated vocabulary stored right there in your head.
But the literal second you open your mouth to speak at, say, a networking event, that I'm not myself feeling just hijacks your brain.
And you completely shut down.
You shut down. It is a complete disconnect between what you know and what you can produce in the moment.
It feels like hitting a brick wall.
Think about it like owning a high-performance sports car.
Okay, I like this analogy.
Right. So you've got this beautiful, incredibly powerful engine sitting under the hood.
Which is your vocabulary.
Exactly. That engine represents your advanced vocabulary, your deep understanding of phrasal verbs, your pristine grammar. All of that is under the hood.
So the power is there.
The horsepower is absolutely there. But, and here's the problem, you are being forced to drive that pristine sports car down a deeply rutted, muddy, rocky dirt road.
Oh, wow.
And that dirt road is the actual physical experience of speaking out loud in real time.
So the capacity is there, but the execution feels completely restricted.
Exactly. You can't go fast. You can't maneuver. You're just creeping along at 5 miles per hour.
Because you're terrified of getting stuck in the mud.
Right. You are constantly hovering over the brakes, just waiting for the next pothole.
And driving like that, being hypervigilant and terrified the whole time, it's exhausting.
It is entirely exhausting. So if the engine is fine, right, if the capacity is there, we have to ask why the road gets so muddy the moment you start speaking.
And this really comes down to neurology. Specifically, how your brain manages its cognitive load.
The working memory.
Exactly. When we talk about that shrinking feeling, we are directly talking about a brain that is literally running out of working memory.
So let's break down how working memory actually functions, because I think a lot of people don't realize how limited it is.
It is incredibly limited. The human brain can only hold a very small amount of new information in its short-term working memory at any given time.
It's usually about, 4 to 7 items?
Yeah, 4 to 7 chunks of information. Now, look at how your brain operates in your native language. It runs entirely on autopilot.
It takes up 0 slots in your working memory.
0. When you speak your first language, You do not consciously think about sentence structure. You aren't analyzing a verb tense before it leaves your mouth.
And you definitely aren't thinking about where to place your tongue behind your teeth to make a specific sound, right?
Never. The thought just exists, and the words magically appear to clothe the thought. Your emotions flow straight into the world without any friction.
But in English, as a second language, learners enter this state of intense self-monitoring.
Right. Instead of just communicating, they're actively managing risk.
Managing risk. I love that phrasing because it's so true.
It is. Think about those limited slots in your working memory. If you are using one slot to remember the vocabulary word.
And then another slot to conjugate the verb.
Right. And a third slot to make sure you use the preposition on instead of in.
Oh, prepositions will get you every time.
They will. And then maybe a fourth slot to monitor your accent? Well, your working memory is completely maxed out.
And let's not forget the social slots.
Oh, true. The social pressure.
Because you're also dedicating mental energy to analyzing the listener's face.
Like, did they wince?
Did they understand me? Are they judging my accent right now?
You are walking a tightrope. Just hyper aware of the drop.
So basically, your brain is entirely hijacked by control and protection. You are operating in pure survival mode.
Survival is the perfect word for it. Because your cognitive bandwidth is completely consumed by just surviving the end of the sentence.
There's literally no neurological space left over for the fun stuff.
None. Empathy, humor, sarcasm, emotional nuance, all of those require free mental bandwidth.
So you lose your charisma not because you lack intelligence, but because all of your energy is redirected towards simply not making a mistake.
Exactly. If you are using like 95% of your brain power just to organize the syntax of a sentence in real time,
you only have 5% left to actually be you.
And 5% is simply not enough mental RAM to deliver a punchline or to show deep, authentic empathy when a friend tells you bad news.
You end up sounding stiff.
Right. And that survival mode doesn't just kill your energy, it completely strips away your identity. Because a personality isn't just a collection of vocabulary words.
No, it's not.
It's built on emotional identity. We often treat language as just cold data.
Like it's a math equation.
Exactly. Words plus grammar rules equals fluency. But your personality, your actual self, is made of rhythm. It's your timing.
It's your specific brand of sarcasm.
Yes. Your cultural references, your instinct for when to playfully interrupt someone.
Think about how you naturally pause for dramatic effect in your native language.
Or how your tone shifts completely when you are being playful versus when you are being serious.
Right. You spent decades of lived experience building that emotional identity.
You associate specific words in your native language with specific memories and feelings.
And then you step into English and you realize you don't have that emotional history.
You know what the word devastated means intellectually.
Right. You've read it.
But your body has never actually felt devastated in English.
Right.
It creates this bizarre internal disconnect.
The gap between intellectual fluency and emotional fluency.
Yes. Intellectually, you know the definition of the words, but you don't feel emotionally familiar with yourself while you're using them.
It feels like you are wearing someone else's clothes.
That is exactly what it feels like.
Like, they might be very nice clothes, maybe even designer, but they don't quite fit your body, and you feel awkward walking around in them.
And this is the root of why learners complain that they sound cold or robotic in English.
Sometimes they even say they feel childish.
Right. They revert to this timid, shy version of themselves, even if they manage a team of 50 people in their native language.
Even if they're incredibly confident in their daily life.
Exactly.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Okay, go for it.
Let's say I want to tell a funny story about something ridiculous that happened to me at the grocery store.
Sure.
I know exactly what happened. I have the vocabulary to describe the event perfectly. I even know the right English idiom to use for the punchline.
Okay.
So if I have all the exact words and I put them in the correct grammatical order, shouldn't I still be funny? Why does the joke still fall flat in the room?
Because humor, much like persuasion or deep empathy, does not live in the text. It lives in the delivery.
Ah, the delivery.
And delivery requires emotional fluency. If you don't feel the emotional weight of the words you are saying, your delivery is going to be slightly out of tune.
Like the timing might be a microsecond too slow.
Exactly. Or the intonation won't quite match the rising action of the story.
So you might have the perfect words intellectually.
But without the emotional fluency driving them, the story comes out flat. It feels like you are reading a news report rather than inviting the listener into a shared human experience.
Oh, wow. It's the difference between reading sheet music and actually playing the song with soul.
Spot on. You can hit all the technically correct notes on the piano, but if the emotion isn't there, the audience feels nothing.
And because you don't trust your emotional instincts in English, you end up relying on overthinking.
Which is a trap.
You fall straight into the translation trap.
The translation trap is the ultimate killer of spontaneity. Because learners don't feel emotionally safe in the language, they reverse the natural human process of communication.
So what does that reversal look like?
Think about the mental rehearsal loop a learner goes through. You want to say something. First, you build the sentence mentally in your native language.
Right.
Then you run it through an internal translator. Then you edit it, checking the verb tense, worrying about the preposition.
Checking that mental grammar book.
Exactly. And then, finally, you speak.
That sounds exhausting. Just thinking about it is tiring.
It is. And the result is a massive delay.
Yeah, that half-second or full-second delay completely destroys the natural rhythm of a back-and-forth conversation.
You are always one step behind the organic flow of the room.
Contrast that with how a native speaker or someone who is emotionally fluent reacts.
Right, let's use an example. If someone suddenly drops a glass in the kitchen and it shatters.
A native speaker doesn't think, glass has fallen, I should express surprise, I will now gasp.
No, they just react. They gasp or they yell.
Emotional reaction happens first.
And the language just follows naturally behind it, almost like a shadow. But learners in survival mode reverse this.
They focus so heavily on producing the correct language that the communication stops feeling human.
They prioritize accuracy over connection.
And when you do that, you essentially become a biological translation machine.
Which is so sad.
It really is. And think about what that does to your confidence over time.
Oh, it destroys it.
We often assume that confidence in a language comes from knowing more words or having better grammar.
But confidence isn't about data. It's about emotional safety.
Emotional safety, what does that actually mean in this context?
It is the feeling of being safe enough to be imperfect in front of another human being.
Oh, I love that.
If you feel safe, you don't mind stumbling over a word, you just laugh it off.
But if you don't feel safe?
A single mispronounced word feels like a catastrophic failure. Emotional safety dictates your real-time fluency entirely.
And this is why a learner's English ability can drastically fluctuate depending on the context, right?
Exactly. You could take someone who speaks wonderfully freely, naturally, cracking jokes, when they're sitting at a relaxed cafe with a close friend.
Because they feel safe.
Right, but put that exact same person with the exact same vocabulary into a high-stakes job interview.
Or a formal corporate presentation.
Suddenly they freeze, they stutter, they forget the word for apple.
The sports car gets dropped right back onto the muddy road.
Yep. The technical knowledge didn't vanish overnight. The vocabulary didn't just, fall out of their ear.
What changed was the environment.
The adrenaline spiked, the emotional pressure cranked up, their sense of safety disappeared, and their working memory got completely wiped out by anxiety.
And the real danger here is that if this cycle happens too often, learners start associating the English language purely with stress.
With performance and judgment.
Rather than associating it with human connection.
And that is the real tragedy. Language is the primary tool we have for connecting with other human beings.
It is not supposed to be a pop quiz you have to pass every time you open your mouth.
No, it's really not.
Yeah. Now, if you're listening to this right now and thinking, well, that's great, but I still need to pass my IELTS exam, or I have to give quarterly reports to a board of directors, I can't afford to be messy.
We completely understand that.
We do. There are absolutely moments where accuracy is the goal.
But there has to be a separation between academic or corporate performance and your core human connection.
So if technical knowledge isn't the fix for the shrinking personality, it sounds like the only way out of this trap is fundamentally redefining what true fluency actually means.
We have to completely discard the lie that learners have been sold. True fluency is not just technical.
It is not about zero mistakes.
No. You don't need to buy another textbook, you don't need a larger deck of flashcards, and you don't need to study harder.
For most people who feel their personality shrinking, technical knowledge is the least of their problems.
What they actually need is emotional comfort. Real fluency is the emotional ability to remain connected to yourself and to the person in front of you while speaking.
So how do you actually build that? I mean, you can't just snap your fingers and decide to feel safe.
No, you can't. You have to seek out and prioritize spontaneous conversation in low-stakes environments.
And by low stakes, you don't mean practicing conversations alone in your bathroom mirror.
No, it means putting yourself in situations where Making a mistake carries zero social consequence.
Like what?
Talk to a taxi driver in a city you are visiting, knowing you will never see them again.
Right.
Play an online video game with English speakers where the entire focus is on the mission of the game, not on your grammar. Have a chat with a stranger in a bakery line.
It's about shifting the internal goal from I want to be correct to I want to be known.
Exactly. You are trying to build a new emotional home inside the language.
And you cannot build a home in a grammar workbook.
You really can't. You can only build it in the messy, unpredictable, beautifully imperfect reality of human interaction.
It requires listening to connect rather than just listening to formulate your next perfectly grammatical response.
And it takes time. You are literally rewiring your brain's association with the language.
But eventually, if you focus on connection over perfection, a shift happens.
You start to notice that you aren't translating every single thought anymore.
You stop monitoring the end of your sentence while you are still trying to pronounce the beginning of it.
The working memory frees up.
You stop looking for the potholes and you just start driving the car.
And slowly, as that cognitive pressure lifts, your real personality begins to peek through.
Not the robotic, hyper-cautious, translated version of you.
Yeah. The vibrant, funny, expressive, dynamic self. It comes back.
That is incredibly hopeful. It means your personality was never lost. It was just temporarily hiding behind a massive wall of cognitive overload.
Exactly.
So if we step back and look at the whole picture today, losing your personality in English is not a vocabulary problem.
Not at all.
If you feel smaller, less funny, or disconnected, it is a working memory and emotional pressure problem.
Your brain is prioritizing survival over expression.
And the key to finally sounding like yourself isn't doubling down on grammar drills. It's finding those low-stakes environments.
Letting go of the obsession with perfection.
And allowing yourself the grace to be wonderfully messy.
Your true personality is still in there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just waiting for you to create the emotional safety to let it out.
As we wrap up today, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've talked a lot about how we need to find emotional safety for ourselves to speak fluently.
Right.
But flip that around for a second. If emotional safety is the real key to fluency, how does the environment we create for others when they speak our native language impact their ability to show us who they truly are?
Oh, that's a great point.
When a non-native speaker is talking to us, are we giving them the patience and the grace they need to find their personality? Are we creating spaces where people feel safe enough to be imperfect?
That is a very powerful question to carry with you this week.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the human side of language. Keep speaking, keep making those messy mistakes, and we will see you back here next time on English Unfiltered.